In this video, we're putting durable bags to the test so you don't have to. We want to find out if it's worth paying more for a bag or if you can save some cash and still come out on top. I'm Lauren from Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel. We're going to put each pack through the same 5 trials and see if they can stand up to the challenge. First up is the high-end GORUCK GR1, known for its tough materials. Next up is the mid-range 511 Tactical Rush 12 2.0 backpack, which is a durable bag with a more technical look. And finally, the Samurai Tactical Wakizashi, a budget version of both. We have no idea how this will go. So we decided to get the input of our Pack Hacker Pro members to see which bag they thought would hold up the best. We'll be sharing the results at the end of this video, so stay tuned. We're kicking it off with an easy one, the water resistance test. You're on a tropical island and suddenly it starts downpouring. Does your bag have what it takes to protect your gear? We've put water detecting tape strategically in areas around the bag where water can easily get in. This will show how well each pack keeps water out. So let's splash some bags. So first up here we have the budget option, which is the Samurai Tactical Wakizashi backpack. We have some exposed zippers. There's a little bit of fabric welts here as well, but they're not really super covered. And then we have some mesh on the back as well. So in general, I don't really think it's gonna hold up super well, but let's see how it does.
I'm scared.
You can already tell that the material is just like absolutely soaked. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna see if the tape inside shows any signs of water. So I mean, immediately, right? Like that just looks like a crime scene. And then we've got this little one here, which is even worse. I mean, that one's essentially entirely soaked. And then we have the main compartment, which is where most of your stuff is gonna be, right? So you want that to be as good as possible. And honestly, not so bad. The tape has a little bit of strip here, but there's also like the side of the pants here is entirely soaked. And then the tape on the back is also red. So I would say this is a pretty solid fail across the board. However, it performed exactly how we thought it was going to, which is kind of a win. So next up, we have our mid-range option, which is the 511 Rush 12 2.0. And the budget option looks suspiciously like this in terms of style, but it does feel a little bit more sturdy and water repellent. 511 says that it has a little bit of extra protection against water. So let's see how this one fares. All right, Eric, let her loose. Oh, that did a lot better than I thought like it would do, honestly, at like beating out right at the front. It's pooling a little bit up top. I mean, look at the back. You can see that there's all of those beads. Like it did a lot better at kind of like brushing off the water, which is good. So let's open that up and see actually how it did. Look at that. I mean, there's like a little bit of it there. Here, I would say this is the most wet. There's no shot that it didn't at least get a little bit in there, which is the case. So definitely quick grab pocket, maybe not your best spot for something that could get damaged with water. And then opening it up, yeah, so that one didn't do as well, but I would say that's pretty expected. I mean, we've got some pretty heavy streams of water coming down. Overall, it's still, you know, performing a little bit better than that budget one did, which is what we expected with that, you know, weather resistance on the outside, but still really nice to see. All right, so last up we have the GORUCK GR1, which is our high-end bag. I can already tell that this one's gonna fare a little bit better just based off of the fabric welt on both zippers on the outside. GORUCK does say that this is rain-proof, so we are going to see if it is monsoon-proof and just dump a bucket of water on it instead. All right, so the outside of the materials are pretty dry. I mean, like even me just wiping this off with my hands, it's coming right off. The only place that it's really holding onto water is right up here, and that's where a lot of the direct hit was, so that doesn't really surprise me. But if we're gonna look at this front compartment here, I mean, that is completely dry. The 511 had a little tiny dab of water, and this has absolutely nothing. And then if we open this up, it's got a nice little clamshell opening. So this one here, not so much water right here, none on this, well, not none, but fewer little pieces of water on that front one. But this top one definitely got a brunt of the hit, and these pants are like almost entirely wet up top. So I think what happened here is that it got most of the water from right here. Pretty good to see that even if it starts coming from the up top, that it could be pretty tough on your clothes on the inside, but the front pocket did really great, so that's good. So it turns out that water-resistant materials actually make a difference. The Rush 12 2.0 and GR1 are pretty neck and neck here, but we've got to hand it to the GR1. Water droplets beat it off super well, and that tape in the front pocket was completely dry. The main compartment was pretty wet, but we can't blame any of these bags for taking on at least a little water when it's dumped from a bucket. Chances are you'll be fine if you're caught in a rainstorm with the GR1 or the Rush 12, but we'd stay away from the Wakizashi. Maybe just head inside when you have a chance. Imagine this, you promise yourself you won't be buying any souvenirs this trip. Next thing you know, you're walking out of a gift shop with like 100 pounds of Swiss chocolate in your bag. Can it handle all the weight? Or are you gonna show up at your destination with an empty pack? All right, so this is our state-of-the-art lab where we are going to be adding sandbags to each bag to see how they fare when we add more and more weight. So we are starting off with the budget Wakizashi. So already out the gate, there's a little bit of pulling here. We already have about 20 pounds on the inside. And so we're gonna see how it ends up faring once we add more. So let's start adding these in.
All right, about 40 pounds, about 55 pounds, another one. I heard it there. I heard, like, you could hear it stretching. It's up to 90 pounds. The last carabiner here. That is 105 pounds. The bar is bending.
The bar is feeling
it. But the backpack is doing okay.
Honestly, the bag's doing good, which is surprising because there's like all of the material and like the little threads are kind of pulling around this pack before we even started. Like you can see right here, this is what it looked like all around, but the zipper is holding up nicely. Like the materials are doing surprisingly well. And so let's take a look at, you can kind of see up close like how that threading is starting to come apart a little bit, but it's doing okay. Like it's surprisingly okay. And you're not gonna have 105 pounds on your back. So you've got that going for you, but it might start to look a little bit silly if you hang too much stuff off the back. Next up, we have our mid-range option, which is the Rush 12. So we're gonna start adding on that weight now. It's resting just under 20 pounds.
40 pounds, we're gonna add another one of these. About 60 pounds. Your S-beaners are coming in handy. Up to 75 pounds, 91, 107 pounds. It's kind of worrying here.
This little bit here. But like the stitching looks pretty solid. Like even these ones are like holding on for dear life, but they still look really sturdy, which I think is kind of fun. In general, I think it's faring a lot better. I'm surprised to see like this handle looking as good as it did just because the other one was so much bulkier, but I think it's just got so much like, I mean like this is not a small amount of stitching right here to secure that on, so that doesn't really surprise me that it's holding up a lot better. Yeah, good work. All right, so next we have the high-end bag, which is the GORUCK GR1. So out the gate, you can see it's pulling a little bit on the front there. We don't have it zipped up all the way, but it does have stitching very similar to that 511 bag. So I have a feeling it's gonna fare pretty similarly, but let's see how it does.
Cool. Puts us at just over 40 pounds, up to 60. We're at almost 80 pounds, at 90. And then this last one here, 110.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in terms of like start to finish, this one looks the most like it did when it started.
Yeah,
like I'd say they were all pretty on par, but the GORUCK and the 511 definitely did the best in terms of just like aesthetically looking normal when we added this much weight to them.
Absolutely.
Honestly, we're pretty impressed with how all of the bags held up here. We started to see some stress put on the seams of each of them, but none of the bags ripped, which is a win across the board. That said, the GR1 definitely held its shape the best, so if that's something you're looking for, you're better off going with GORUCK. As you're walking back to your Airbnb, you set your bag on a bridge ledge to snap a picture of the sunset. Next thing you know, your pack is free falling to the ground. We want to see which bags will protect your gear, so we put a ceramic mug inside each of them. We'll drop them from the same exact spot and see if the mug survives. Let's see how each of these bags stands up against gravity. First up is the budget bag, which is the Wakizashi. Send it. So none of the mugs survived except for the part that was held together by the sticker, which I think the sticker did more in keeping the mug together than the bag actually did. So that's really saying something. All right, next up is our mid-range bag, which is the Rush 12. So let's see how it does. Fatality. Let's open this guy up. So we have another shattered mug, which is very unfortunate. And it doesn't look like there was a Pack Hacker sticker to keep this one together, so it really fully shattered in there. All right, so next up we have the high-end bag, which is the GR1, so let's check it out. Oh, that seemed lighter. Still some shattering, but a little lighter. Oh, a little tinkle. Oh, you know what? That is nice. The other one's completely shattered, but we only lost the handle on this one. I mean, you still can't drink out of the mug. Like if this was a souvenir, it'd basically be done. But that is good news to see that it didn't actually fully shatter. A lot of that too is neither of the other bags have any padding on the bottom, but this has a little bit of cushion, so that definitely helps soften the blow. So that is good to see. Even though none of them technically made it, you'd be better off gluing the pieces of the GR1's mug back together. It may not be giftable or even functional, but it's in the best shape out of the three. The GR1's padded bottom definitely gives it an edge, but based off of how the materials look after the drop, we'd be happy with the Rush 12 too. The last thing you need when you're traveling is a lost passport, whether it fell out of your bag or it was taken. We want to see if the materials can hold up against people who will do anything to get into your bag. For this test, we'll be dropping a knife on each bag 10 times to see if it'll pop the packing material inside. So first up, we have the Budget Wakizashi. It's made of 100% polyester, and already from that drop test, we've got some holes on the very bottom here in that material, so let's see how it holds up with the knife. All right, so the material held up pretty well with just some gravity drops with the knife. So what we're gonna do is see what happens if we put a little bit of force behind it.
So I'm gonna go about a 5 out of 10 on this one. Right through, clean cut. That wasn't very hard at all.
Yeah, there was like no resistance at all for it, huh?
You could hear you heard the packing material pop too.
Yeah, it slid like right in there. So next up we have the mid-range Rush 12, which is made with 1050D nylon. Similar to the budget bag, we have a few little holes on the bottom here, but overall it's in much better condition to start with after that drop test, so let's see how it goes. All right, same here, this material is holding up great, so let's see how it does with the stab.
So I'm gonna go 50% again and see what happens with the 511. Ooh,
oh,
didn't go through.
Wow.
All right, we're gonna go up to maybe 75% and see what happens on the other side here. Nothing again, okay.
Did it do even a little bit of a scratch there? No, I mean that material is nothing is happening to it. It went right through with that budget option.
Yeah, it really
it was like
did.
butter.
I was thinking this was gonna do the same thing. And
yeah.
So I'm gonna go up here and I'm not gonna go 100%, but I'm gonna hit it a lot harder and see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, that
so
went
yeah, that one went through.
So
but that's not surprising.
That was probably closer to 100%, and it went through about the same as it did when I hardly hit that budget option.
Yeah.
So this definitely has a lot more, I don't know what the word would be, but
durability. Yeah.
Durability and puncture resistance.
All right, so here we have the high-end GORUCK GR1. This is made with 1000D Cordura nylon. We only have a little bit of an abrasion here on the bottom. There's only one compared to the other bags that we just tested. So I'm interested to see how this one holds up, especially because there's less going on in this main area where that knife is gonna be hidden. All right, so the material held up pretty well. You can see just some blemishes from the knife just hitting it. There's one little scrape here, but overall it did super well.
So I'm gonna hit this one right in the middle, and I'm gonna start at 50% like I did with the other two.
I'm a little nervous, I'm gonna be real.
Yeah, I just don't know what's gonna happen.
I don't. Okay.
Not bad. So we're gonna move up to about 50%. I don't even think that actually left a mark. So a little bit up to 75%, I should say.
Okay.
Still no mark. Okay. Gonna go up, I don't know what to call this, but it's gonna be harder than that.
Okay. I would say give it your all on this next one.
Okay, we're gonna go for it.
Oh,
Just barely. A really small hole.
Yeah, I mean the other two, it went completely through. With 511, it at least took until 100% to get all the way through, but here, even at 100, I mean, that's a pretty small hole considering.
Yeah, that's a really small hole, I'm surprised.
Yeah. Just like the weight test, we're surprised with the results here. We knew these packs were durable, but that knife really bounced off every time. But yet again, we've got to hand it to the GR1. That Cordura nylon really fought off the knife once Eric put some force behind it. However, the Rush 12 is a worthy second place option if you want to save some cash and still feel confident in your bag's durability. You overslept the morning of your flight, so you grab your bag, rush down to your car, set your backpack on the ground while you load everything else in. But you close it in your door, forget it's there, and drive away, dragging it behind you on the highway for 20 miles. All right, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but if your bag can survive that, it can probably survive anything, right? So first up, we have the budget wakizashi. We have 2 carabiners tied to the bottom here with a little bit of rope, and we're gonna drag it behind the car and see how it does. I don't know how this is gonna go. Let's find out. All right, so we have a little bit of tearing here on the little attachment points on the bottom, which honestly isn't very surprising. I mean, we were hitting, 25 miles an hour, but overall it held up pretty well. It's just a little bit dirty. We have that tear from earlier in the day that looks like it didn't rip anymore, so that's good. But it did surprisingly well. Oh, we have these compression straps on the side. I mean, that's almost completely detached. The buckle's completely torn up. We have this torn up on the back. It just kind of seems like across the board, it's doing okay, but it has definitely seen better days. All right, next up we have the 511 attached the same exact way, so let's see how it does. It's doing okay. Wow, all right. Patch has seen better days, that is for sure. But the side compression straps are looking way better than the wakizashi was. And then we only have a little bit of fraying here on all of these attachment points. Oh, we've got a little hole. Well, actually, yeah, I mean, it's a decent hole. You can see that if you want to look a little bit closer. You can see a little bit inside the bag, but it's doing okay. It's not the prettiest, but held up a little bit better. All right, last up, the GR1. Let's see how it did. All right, out the gate, the attachment points doing really well. I mean, let me flip that this way. This looks like it was barely dragged. Oh, look at that. All of that threading came out, all of that stitching, and so there's just a giant hole in that front pocket. While the rest of the bag looks pretty solid, that doesn't bode super well, only because, if you had a bunch of stuff in that front pocket, all of that stuff now can come out. So that is not great. The rest of it looks good though. I mean, we've got none of the attachment points look like they're in rough shape. There's nothing trying to come off. So it's overall pretty solid except for that big old hole right there. It's safe to say these bags have been through it. While none of them look incredible right now, we think it's safe to say that the GR1 handled the tests the best across the board. Our Pack Hacker Pro members guessed correctly. Sign up for Pro to join in on the voting next time, link in the description below for more info. That said, you're not in a bad spot if you decide to go with the Rush 12 either. It held its own in all of the tests, making it a solid pick at its mid-range price point. If you go budget, well, you get what you pay for. So there you have it, the GORUCK GR1 gets the crown. Hit subscribe and like this video if you want to see more content like this. And let us know which bags we should test next in the comments below. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.